But for me to
That's
get
because
into
your goat kept eating them.
Oh, no, he's dead, but
So are the roses.
that might be why. It was an accident.
Hey, I'm Ange.
And I'm Beck.
And we are the Gold Diggers. Because we believe there's gold found in everyone.
Everyone is unique, interesting, and exciting with a great story to share.
And we aim to find it.
The question is, can we rise to the challenge and strike gold?
I need your my sugar.
So welcome to today's podcast. This is actually a really interesting one because we talk very much about the differences between mine and Beck's lives. I talk about this epic 21st birthday that I threw for Dara. You would have heard from Dara in last week's episode, Ask Mum Anything.
Yeah, Ange, that party was next level epic. I loved it. And what was really interesting about today's podcast is that we have very different lifestyles and very different ways of living. But I love that at the end of this podcast, we talk about how similar we are as well.
So I feel like this is a welcome back because this is the first time Beck and I have actually been in the studio this year.
For 2024.
That's right. And last week you would have heard from our children, from
Yes.
Dara and Katia in our Ask Mum Anything episode. We actually recorded that at the end of last year.
That was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
It was a lot of fun. And a lot of things have happened actually
Yes.
since then.
Yes.
So now we're back at the time all your kids have gone back to school.
Yes.
And that's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, and actually my kids have not gone back to school for the first time in 20 years, so that's a bit weird.
I know you kind of lose track a little bit when your kids are not in school. I think, oh, what day of the week is it again? Or like,
Yes.
it just seems to have gone so fast
Yeah.
that kids are now suddenly back at school. And the only reason I know is because I tried to drive somewhere at 7 a.m. Yesterday morning, and then the roads were already all backed up, and I'm like, oh, yeah, schools are back on.
There's something actually nice about it, though. It feels like this rhythm in society of, I don't know, even though my kids are not at school, you can feel that normality of routine happening again.
I
don't
am
know.
actually really craving routine.
Yes.
I've been so far out of routine, probably for about... Well, we went to the UK in October last year.
Yeah.
Then my mum flew back with us. So literally from November all the way through to actually this morning,
Yeah.
we have had guests staying with us. And so our last guest left at 9:30 this morning.
Wow.
And we haven't had the house to ourselves in that period of time. So I'm craving getting back to normality. My body's craving getting back to normality. Because, you overeat when you're hosting.
But you still look great.
Thank you.
But you actually love it, don't you? You love hosting your friends.
I do
and-
love hosting.
Yeah.
I do love hosting. Yeah, I mean, and we've had different people coming and going in that time.
Yeah.
So my mum was with us for a month, and then in the run-up to Christmas, we had friends come, and they were with us over Christmas. And then we did through a big New Year's party, and more
Yes.
friends came, and others left, and then we had friends from overseas come and join us. We had our friends from the UK, and they literally have been with us for about 3 weeks. So they left on Monday night,
Yeah.
and we'd got another couple staying with us from Sydney, and they left this morning. So
Wow.
the house is going to feel really empty
It
and really
will.
quiet. Like me,
Yes.
Noel and Dara are going to be looking at each other thinking, what do we do now?
Yeah. Especially after this last weekend. I mean, Ange, that party was next level. And then next level again.
Yes.
That was amazing.
It was. So you would have heard from Dara last week. And interestingly, the same week that his podcast gets aired, it was his 21st birthday.
Yes. And what a party. Like, I feel like I will never experience a party like that again in my lifetime.
It was pretty epic.
It was
wasn't it?
amazing. So for our listeners, Dara arrived in a helicopter,
Yeah.
and it was a 007 party. So it was James Bond themed,
Yeah.
and everything James Bond to the utmost, wasn't it?
Yeah. We kind of
Beautiful.
figured that this is going to be the last birthday party we
Yeah.
ever throw for our son. And I guess that's the same for every parent when your child reaches 21. It's kind of the last one you throw for them. And it's almost like a real sending out.
Yeah.
We only have one kid, so we don't have to spread that cost over multiple children. And, for some big families, I don't know, for you, maybe by the time you got to your fourth child, well, you're not quite there yet, are you, on your fourth child? But, you know, you've had 2 that have got to 21.
Yeah.
By the time you get to sort of 3 or 4th, you think, oh, I'm so over this that it just... They'll probably become very low key.
Oh no, any excuse for a party in our family.
I have to say, actually, you do party well because the whole Moore family were killing it on the dance floor on Saturday night.
I actually love that we were all 8 of us were, and even Max, so all 9 of us were up on the dance floor. It was so fun.
And it's good because once the Moore family's up there, it encourages so many more other people because it looks like the dance floor's full.
It's cool, yeah. Just get us up there. We'll bring a crowd with us.
So here's a trick for you. If you're ever hosting a party and you want people on the dance floor, invite the Moore family.
That's right. Hire a crowd just in the Moore family. We will dance.
But that was what it was for us. It was like, okay, you know, at some point he's probably going to get married. There'll be a wedding. But really the bride's family probably have more involvement in that than perhaps the groom's family. So we figured this was our one and last chance to really go to town.
Well, you did it so well.
The funny thing is, though, Tara hates being the centre of attention. And so you probably heard it a bit in the podcast. He allowed Cardia to take the lead, or he doesn't speak an awful lot.
Yeah.
And so he hates the limelight on him, which I actually really love about him.
Yeah.
Because he's a performer as well.
Yeah.
So I love that about him. So when I asked him sort of towards the end of last year, or maybe about October time last year, what do you want to do for your 21st? He kind of just said, I want something low key. I'll just have a few friends over and let's do that. And I'm like, okay, you sure you don't want a party? Because this is, our last chance to throw you a party. And he's like, no, we'll keep it low key.
Yeah.
As the weeks rolled on, I just wanted to double check with him. And I said, you sure you don't want a party? And he said, well, okay, let's throw a party. So I'm like, he says, but we'll just have it at home.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so a home party. Well, we've got some nice grounds. We can actually fit quite a lot of people in our house. So, then I said, do you want a party or do you want a Williams party? We are kind of known for the party people.
Yeah, excellent party people.
And he says, okay, Mum, we can do a Williams party. And I say, do you give me full reign to do whatever I want? And he says, yes, I do. You can organise whatever you want. Aww. So I did keep him on the loop in something. So he knew we were having a marquee. He knew the people that were invited. There was about 120 guests invited. About 110 came in the end. He knew that it was a James Bond theme and that people were to wear sort of black tie. And that's all he knew. Yeah. And so I worked with an events company. They're called Mask Events. They were absolutely excellent. And they pretty much took all the reins of most of the organising. Yeah. So, and they kind of convinced me on his big grand entrance, which, as you say, was a helicopter. So Dara didn't even know he was arriving on a helicopter. Yeah. He got taken off about 5:30 in the afternoon with 2 friends. Went off. Didn't know where he was going. Went to Sunshine Coast Airport, jumped in a helicopter, and they got a really beautiful tour of all the coastline and everything. And by the time they came over the house, all the guests had arrived. Yeah. And you could see our house from the aerial view, the marquee, and all the guests standing outside, and they're all looking up because the helicopter came quite low, didn't it? Yes. And it just came straight over the marquee and kind of hovered for a little while and then carried on. And the amazing thing is the helicopter actually was able to land in our grounds, and there was only a very small area that it would be able to land because there was a lamppost on one side, a lake on the other side, trees and all that, and then there was all our fencing and our gates, so it was quite a small spot that it could land. So he did it to precision. And Dara and his friend Elijah and Abby were in the helicopter with him, and they were kind of like, this is never going to land there. This is never going to. But it did. And then they got out of the car and they got into, so Mercedes-Benz, Sunshine Coast were really great. They got on board with us and they loaned us a car, and one of their salesmen, who we know really well, drove the car from the helicopter up the driveway into the reception party, and all these like fire flames went off, all the pyrotechnics and that. And so you're right. So like for someone that doesn't like being in the limelight, I went to town.
And he handled it so well. Like he didn't shy away. He just stepped into the moment without being. He was not full of himself or anything. He was just Dara, like beautiful Dara, and just enjoyed that moment. And that's
he was
exactly how you
smiling.
would want him to enjoy it, isn't it?
Yeah, I could tell he was kind of like, he was smiling and embarrassed.
Yeah.
Although he doesn't get embarrassed, he says. He
No,
was
that's
just
right.
taking it all in.
Yeah.
And a little bit speechless, actually, which was
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
And
I love the humbleness about Dara. He's just
Yeah.
himself. That's really nice.
I know. That was probably one of the things that are one of my highlights about the whole party. I mean, there was so much going on and so many elaborate things happening that it was a real feast for the eyes.
Yeah.
But probably some of the highlights for me were the speeches.
Yes.
And some of our nearest and dearest, some of his best mates, some people that have known him since he was born.
Yeah.
That message came out loud and clear.
Yes.
That the thing they admire a lot about Dara is his humbleness.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and even in my speech, I said that's one thing I admire about him. He's really humble because realistically,
Yeah.
the life that we live, you know, it's bigger and grander than sort of most people in the
Yeah.
world. Most people don't get to live the way that we live.
No.
And the way he handles that and
Yes.
carries that and carries himself within that, I'm immensely proud.
Yeah.
And it's noticeable to other people because he's
Yeah.
got every opportunity to be boastful, to be bragging, to be entitled.
Yeah.
And he just isn't. And
it is actually really remarkable, and a credit to you guys as his parents, that Dara is just such a well-balanced young man. And like you say, he could have been entitled, he could have been proud or anything like that, but he is just, if you met him in the street, he's as normal as everyone else, and I love that about him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've always put the value into him because it's a big value for us, is that people matter more than possessions.
Yeah, yeah.
And actually, I looked around the tent that night and, you know, there was lots going on. He got a brand new car and, you know, there was a whole casino. People were dressed up to the nines. But it wasn't really about the environment. It was really about the people that were there. And that's why I love parties.
Yeah.
Because I love to share and celebrate
Yes.
and the enjoyment that we get to enjoy a lot of things in life. But to me, it's not to be enjoyed unless you can share it with other people.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's nothing more that I love than seeing other people enjoying themselves. We've been able to facilitate that.
Yeah.
That really brings me to life, and that's really what I love about sort of arranging these events.
And it really felt like that too. It really felt like a very special moment, but a true celebration. Like we all fully enjoyed ourselves,
Yeah.
and we felt free to let loose on the dance floor and just fully love the moment, enjoy all the entertainment and everything that was going on. It was just a very enjoyable, it was a beautiful gift to all your guests as well as to Dara.
Yes.
So thank you
That
for
came
that.
across. No worries. Look, we had a lot of
Yeah.
people say thank you, and
Yeah.
that I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, we had some amazing entertainment, didn't we? We had
Yes.
these. They were like flamethrowers with pyrotechnics, and then it's this man and this woman that I can't even remember their name of the organisation, but it was pretty spectacular, really.
It was, yeah. And like I said, it really was a gift to everybody.
And everyone says it's a party like they've never been to before.
No, that's right.
And probably unlikely to again.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I mean, I've been to a lot of parties in
Yeah.
my life. And, you know, even when I was in the UK, my dad's company, every year they used to put on a big Christmas party or a New Year's party. They'd have special guests. So these events are not unusual for me either. But this one was particularly special, probably because it's celebrating my son.
Yes.
And it was in our home.
Yes, that's right. And it was so weird because there were moments there I was thinking, I feel like I'm on the set of a movie. And it just felt so surreal. But then we were just surrounded by all these people that love you and all your friends. And so it had this intimate feel while being in a really surreal kind of moment. So it was, I can't really explain it, but it was perfect. It was just so good.
I want to do it again.
Yeah, I know. Do it.
We had this really cool, like 360 camera. So there was, you can put 3 or 4 people. It's like on this circle that's lit up. You stand back to back.
That was great.
And the camera spins around you.
Yes.
And, you know, you're all doing different animations or what. But the result of that was brilliant, wasn't it? And they did it to 007 music, and it was really epic.
It was great because they called that a 3D photo booth. Is that right?
I think it's a 360.
360 photo.
Yeah, because the camera goes around 360. It's like on a rail, doesn't it? And it just spins around you.
Yeah, it was great.
So cool. And then there was a full casino in Casino Royale style.
Yeah.
And I've never done that before in a party, and I thought that worked really well. So every guest was given, is it like $1,000 note, and it was Dara's face on it.
Yes.
And they cash that in for chips. And then you get to there's all these different croupier stations that you can just, try your hand on the casino. And then whoever won the most chips at the end got a trophy.
Yeah.
But the chips actually had Dara's face on them.
I didn't make it to the casino
Well, I
tables.
didn't either, but I was watching all the activity there. And, of course, our trusty producer, Dave, did all the MCing.
And was brilliant.
Brilliant.
Woo, brilliant.
Yeah, well done, Dave. I can totally recommend him as an MC.
Yes.
He did some great gags in there.
He got a little bit too close to the fire at one point.
Yeah, he
and that
nearly died
reaction
under the
was
pyrotechnics.
great.
Got no eyebrows now.
Yeah. It did add a little bit of flair to the evening, but I'm really glad that he didn't catch fire. That was good.
And I really love the fact that he pulled out one guest that was there that had seen the invite and saw Mask Events.
Yes.
Which is the name of the event company.
Yes.
And actually thought it was a masquerade ball.
That's right. He did. And he brought his mask.
And he came with his mask.
But we won't mention any names.
No, we're not throwing you under the bus, Doug. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and he chose a Batman mask, so that was kind of appropriate as well. Because we were a bit in like a Bruce Wayne type of house.
And it was black, so it came
Yeah.
with the whole, colour coordination. So that was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have to, and then like loads of people stayed behind afterwards, so all his friends were there.
Yeah.
We literally did not get to bed till like 3 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I don't know how you stayed awake. I would have been adrenaline.
you were on a high.
Yeah.
In fact, at 2:30 we were eating cake.
Yeah. Nice.
So
Well, that'll keep you awake, all the sugar.
well, it did actually. When I did go to bed, my heart was racing.
Oh, yeah.
And I reckon it was the sugar
Yeah.
from the cake. But yeah, it was definitely a night he's never going to forget.
Oh, yeah.
And that's such a gift.
Nor will the guests.
No. And that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
It's what we wanted to do.
A night to remember.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot to pull that off. Not only does it obviously
Yes.
cost a lot, but even in terms of...
It was a mammoth effort.
oh, yeah, like they started... Basically, Wednesday they started.
Yeah.
I'm really pleased that some people, like some of the staff there, noted that there's no mosquitoes around. I'm not getting bitten. They were expecting to get bitten. What they didn't know was on the Wednesday before the party, we actually had our whole property fogged
Oh, wow.
to kill all the mosquitoes.
Oh, wow.
So, you see, we're thinking
That's
about
really
guests all the
thoughtful.
time.
Yes.
Because I was like, it's like Call of the Wild out
Yeah.
on our front lawn.
Yeah.
There's frogs. I mean, we've got a fountain out the front of our house, and the fountain they'd put in the middle of the marquee.
Yeah, that was amazing.
So, and it really, I couldn't believe it. It looked really spectacular.
Yeah.
And I was kind of nervous that all the cane toads were going to come out of the fountain in the middle of the...
That would have been horrendous.
Yeah, and then that normally sings at night, like with
Yeah.
all the frogs in there. But I think they got a bit scared and they must have gone a bit shy. And so they thankfully didn't make an appearance. But anyway, they noticed that the mosquitoes weren't there. So on the Wednesday before, we had the whole property fogged. And then the Thursday, they started building the marquee and everything. And it didn't go down until Tuesday. So we almost had a week, really.
Yeah.
A full week of prepreration and pack down.
Yeah, you would.
For
Easily.
for a few hours,
That's
so
huge.
it's a big effort and takes a big team to do that.
But even like some things, a couple of things went wrong. Like that morning there was a lot of rain and the floor was underwater.
That's right. Like Saturday morning, we'd had a lot of rain anyway, but Saturday morning, it was down. It had such a downpour where we live. And I began to panic. So I walked into the marquee and all the tables and chairs had been set out already.
Yeah.
And my foot just squidged into the base and I had a foot of water over my feet, over my shoes.
Oh.
And I'm like, we are never going to pull this off.
Oh. Sure.
So quickly.
That must have been a scary moment.
Well, I began to freak out because I'm like, that's one thing you can't predict.
No.
I mean, the helicopter wouldn't have been out in bad weather. The helicopter wouldn't have been able to come.
Yeah.
All the 360 cameras and everything. It was all outside.
Yeah.
And we don't really have a wet weather plan because we can't bring everything inside because we didn't have the space indoors for 110 people and tables and chairs. So we had to make it work. And the events team, they sprung into action. They're really great at kind of shifting and pivoting at the last minute. And so they brought in all these like dryers. They sucked out all the water. They started drying all because they were like carpets on the floor, started drying all that.
Wow.
And miraculously, and a good dose of prayer.
Yes.
And all the people praying, God, please let the rain stop.
Yeah.
And it did stop by 11:30. And by the time sort of 6:00 came, the ground was dry.
It was great.
Yeah,
You
I
wouldn't have
like,
known.
would never have known. So yeah, it all worked out. And actually, the night was a lot cooler than it had normally been, even though it was still hot and humid.
Very muggy, but it didn't rain, so that was good.
And it didn't rain. And even the helicopter pilot said that it was the best night he's had to be able to do the landing.
Oh, wow.
For weeks. So
Yeah.
it turned out to be. Isn't that the case with life? Sometimes it can look like your worst moment.
Yes.
But it's actually that rain in the morning worked out for the benefit of us in the evening.
Yeah.
So,
That's very philosophical, Ange.
well, I always try and look at. I'm always looking for the secret messages in things.
Yes, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. So, Ange, you're talking about Dara being brought in by a car, but there was a very special moment in the night.
Yeah.
Followed by a movie leading up to it.
Yeah.
Where his birthday present was brought in.
Yeah,
Tell
well, we
us
kind of
about
said all the
that.
proceedings had happened, the cake had been cut, and we said, what is a birthday party without a surprise?
Yeah.
And so we then told everyone to look at the screens, and we had secretly done a 6-minute like mini movie of revealing what his birthday present was.
Which was brilliant, can I say. I loved it.
It was so funny. And it was in collaboration with Mercedes-Benz because we'd bought him a new car.
Yeah.
But we'd kind of done this whole storyline of this new car. Well, we wanted to buy him a new car because he had actually broken his fuel cap of his actual car.
Yeah.
But we'd already ordered his new car prior to that.
Yeah.
But then that gave us the opportunity to take his old car into Mercedes to get it fixed.
Yeah.
And we used that storyline to say we've got to buy him a new car because he's broken his other one. He's broke his fuel cap, so we've got no choice but to buy him a new car. You know, a bit of tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
And then it was like, this is the car we want and we want it here by this date. And then they say, this is impossible. It's not going to happen. And I kind of stare the salesman down and he starts to sweat.
Yeah.
And then he says, but there's one man I can call.
Yeah.
And it kind of then goes into this whole James Bond sequence as if we've called James Bond. He's the only one that can deliver the car to the party on time. And
All
so
I can say is that was a powerful stare because they got him moving heaven and earth to make that happen.
I've been practicing that stare for 49 years.
It's very effective. Yeah.
So anyway, then this whole sequence, James Bond sequence, the car finally gets delivered. He throws us the keys, only for the car to roll back and fall into the lake. all kind of just intimated. It was a really great movie. And story strategists who we work with in our social media, they did the whole storyboarding. They did all the filming.
They did a brilliant job.
They did.
Well
And
done
actually
to them.
Dara's best friend was behind the camera because he's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
So it was incredible. I think everyone loved the movie. But then right at the end of the movie, the car rolls in and all the pyrotechnic goes.
No.
And it was there, had his number plate on and everything. So it was a really awesome moment.
It's an amazing moment. Very exciting. Yes.
But as I said, like all this takes so long to I know I had an events company doing it, but there was still a lot of planning and preparation and that. Plus, we've been hosting people for a lot of times. And all of these things are really enjoyable experiences.
Yeah.
But it really takes its toll on you physically. I'm not eating properly. I'm not sleeping properly. You're carrying extra stress. All the things you'd normally be doing, you're distracted by all the things you've got to do to make that event work. But all the things you normally be doing are kind of being less. So all these things are piling up and eventually, it can actually physically take its toll on your body. And so I missed my walk with you this morning, Beck,
Yeah.
because I slept in.
I'm glad this is like the first time you've ever slept in. So
I
fair
know.
enough. That's
It's actually the first time ever, I think, for a long while at least, that I've slept 7 hours.
It was a very quiet walk without you.
It was. But I think a conversation for us to have really is,
Yeah.
because I know you've just suffered a little bit with burnout. You had such a busy year last year.
Yeah.
You were going full pace and giving it everything. And then when you suddenly take a rest, your body breaks down, doesn't it? And that I hear that story so often.
Except I don't think I took a rest, and that's why my body broke down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, I mean, now over Christmas, like, you finally stop a little bit and then you just, your body kind of breaks down.
Well, I remember in our Caviar and Cactus at the end of last year, and I was saying to you, I know I haven't rested well this year, as in last year. I know I could have done that better. And I could see little symptoms coming through in my body telling me that I need to slow down and rest. And even though you know it, sometimes it's easier to say than to do. And I didn't slow down because I couldn't. So I had to keep working. We didn't take our annual holiday. And I pretty much worked through Christmas right up till now, still working. But also just the extra things that you're doing at Christmas and things like that. So you're on the go all the time. And there's a lot of great things about it, but there's only so much that your body can handle. And I think like not so much ignoring those little telltale signs, but not, I guess, stopping and allowing myself to rest. I have suffered a bit of burnout, like you said, and it's just been a bit of a hard few weeks physically.
Because I think the interesting thing is, like, yours is through overworking, and mine is like, because I can feel those signs in my body. I was sitting in the hairdresser's the other day, and I had a moment where, like, it just came on me instantly, and I thought, I feel like I'm going to collapse. Yeah. And I'm getting those indications that I've been running too fast, I've been taking on too much, and haven't given myself enough rest. Even though all the things I've done I've really loved and enjoyed, and they've been celebrations and things, you really have to be in tune with your body. And so for me to sleep in this morning, for instance, that's my body telling me, right, you need to slow down now. You've done what you need to do, and you need to rest. And I think we need to take note of those signs, don't we? But sometimes we just can't, because we're running at 100 miles an hour.
That's right. And people need you. People are relying on you. I mean, for me, I had to put food on the table, basically. And so you can't not keep up those expectations when there's people relying on you. So it's definitely easier said than done.
Yeah.
And but it is really important. So I went and saw my doctor, and she said, here are some, like, just work on 2 things, because I think it's important we talk about burnout with people, because there's a lot of people suffering it at the moment. And even like our producer Dave was saying that since COVID, it's almost like people are now starting to feel the effects of burnout from trying to pick up after COVID. I think it's an important topic because we know that when we don't stop, there are repercussions. And it's really important to listen to those little hints that our bodies are giving us. And we can still keep going, but we've got to take that half an hour out. And I'm my worst enemy in saying that, because it's like I know it, but it's a matter of actually doing it. So as I was saying, my doctor said, start with 2 things. So take something that you enjoy doing that takes you out of your normal routine just for half an hour a day, and just relax. So she said, what does that look like to you? And I said, I think I need to get back into my garden, because I've neglected my rose garden for probably 2 years. It's doing great by itself, but for me to
That's
get into
because your goat kept eating them.
Oh no, he's dead, but
so are the roses.
that might be why. It was an accident. We still got the sheep, they're fine.
You're just not good with goats.
That's it. He's got my goat. But anyway, so for me, something that will work for me is to go back into my rose garden, maybe just half an hour a day or whenever I can, and just spend time basically just trimming things and turning the soil and just basically nothingness, but it's taking you outside of your busy routine and just stopping that momentum for half an hour. And the other thing is exercise, and that's something that definitely has suffered through my busyness because I didn't have time for exercise, but we do need to make time for exercise. And I think like my doctor said, make it something that doesn't feel like a chore, like you have to do it, like you're adding it to your busyness. It's like it's got to work into your day naturally. So it's just...
And something you enjoy
doing.
So you say you suffer burnout. Like what does that look like for you? How has that shown itself in you physically?
I think I tend to push myself beyond what I know I should. I think for myself, I don't like to let people down. And I'm a high achiever as well. So I will often ignore how my body's feeling to get things accomplished, to get things done. But I guess what I did notice was, like, I'll suffer from the odd migraine. But I started getting a cluster of migraines over a short amount of time, and they came in the form of silent migraines.
Yeah.
So if anyone knows what that is, it's you don't necessarily get the pain, but you get the eye vision missing.
I've had them, yeah.
Yeah, and it
kind
looks
of
like...
goes a bit jaggedy, doesn't it, on the outside of your eyes?
Yeah, it feels like geometrical shapes, like zigzags happening across your eyes. And so... I had that before work a couple of weeks ago.
You also lose your vision a little bit, don't you?
Yes, I lost my...
I've had that when I was driving once,
Oh, that's so dangerous, yeah. So I had that a few weeks ago just before I went for an evening shift at work, and I just lay down. It passed, but then I felt nauseous after it, but still went to work. See, there it goes again. Like, I shouldn't have gone to work. I should have rested, but I didn't listen to myself. And then I ended up with a chest infection, and then I ended up with more migraines, but I kept going to work because I had to. And then I was at work by myself one day and suffered another silent migraine where I lost my vision. I had customers in the store and I couldn't see them. And that was a really scary moment. And then I was just like, okay, time to go and visit the doctor and find out what's going on. And she basically said, I was wondering how long it would take before you burnt out because of all the things I do.
Okay, so now you're at this point, your body's giving you signs that you're going to have to slow down. So what is there any decisions you've made out of that? What have you done about it?
There actually is. So, I've been a piano teacher for 12 years.
Yeah.
This year I've given that up. So that was a big decision.
That would be heartbreaking for you, actually.
It was tough. But I'd gradually been working, like, as my students grew older and gave up lessons, I didn't replace them. So I now got down to 3 students, and I thought I can safely just give that up this year. And I think it's been kinder to myself. And sometimes you have to make the hard decisions just to simplify your life a bit more. As much as you love something, sometimes you have to have a break from it so that you can come back to it later, maybe with more energy and vigour.
So that give you a couple of hours in the afternoons, wouldn't it?
It just frees the week up a bit. Yeah, it just gives me that. Probably garden time maybe. Or
and this year you won't have to do school runs or anything either.
That's right. So that is another light at the end of the tunnel. So it looks different again because I'm not blocked in by school drop-offs and pickups, so the day is a bit freer. I'm designating 2 days to do writing. I'll be driving my daughter to Brisbane for her uni, and I'm going to set up in a library just to write because I miss doing that. I really have not given myself time to write, and I was reading some of my books recently and I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to do that again. And that's something that actually helps me thrive as well because that's part of who I am. I'm a writer, and I think I suffer when I'm not being creative, and I need to get... So I think it's made me take a look at where I've gone wrong, what I've allowed to step in and take over other things that I should be doing, but like is good for me, like writing. But also I've had to make the hard decision of giving up piano for the time being. But you just got to work out
It's
what's gonna work.
interesting because like you really know yourself, as in you know the signs. Maybe you've ignored them for a while, but you know the things that bring you to life. So you know that it's gardening and writing, and so to make space for those things. So it's not always about giving up stuff. It's actually about you've added stuff in some ways
Things
because
that
you know it
liven
energizes
up.
you.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's a really big key when it comes to burnout. And the thing about burnout is you can get it through sort of overworking, but I can feel those signs too through over enjoyment, if you like, doing all the things that I've loved doing.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is when your life is so full with other people and events and travel and all that sort of stuff, the actual everyday mundane routine stuff that you should be doing or that keep life ticking along get ignored a little bit. That begins to pile up, and the stress and the pressure of that for me can overwhelm me a little bit, because I think, I've got to do this, maybe there's bills to pay, or there's, you've got to do all your budgets and your accounts and all those things that nobody particularly enjoys unless you're an accountant or you're a number nerd, but that's not me.
And there's definitely something to be said for a nice regular rhythm of life.
Definitely.
And also allowing people to help you.
Yeah.
And honestly, sometimes I just think I can do it all myself, to be brutally honest. And in my mind I can, but my body not necessarily.
Yeah.
And so it's
Do you find it difficult then accepting help off people?
Yeah, I do. Because I think I can do it. And I push myself to do it. I find it really hard.
Well, that's interesting, because that's one thing I actually learned. I had a family come over from the UK and they stayed with us for 3 weeks. And she literally did all the cooking. She kind of took over the kitchen, did all the cooking, insisted I couldn't get in there.
Yeah.
Kind of insisted, which she was doing it because she wanted to, contribute to the household. And then the husband did all the washing up. I'm now really missing them. I just have to say.
Like, send them to my house. I'm happy to take that help.
But it actually worked really great because we all mucked in and we all did our part, and it works really, really well. So in some ways I didn't feel like I was having to host them. Yeah. But I really found it quite difficult. Yeah. Like the husband would come and ask me, do you want a drink or something like that? I'm thinking, I should be asking you. It kind of felt weird. I got used to it, I have to say. But it is difficult sometimes accepting people's help. Yeah. And so it took me at least about a week to settle into the fact that they were comfortable. That's what they wanted to do. Yeah. They wanted to do the cooking and take care of the kitchen and all that sort of stuff.
It's also a timing thing, isn't it? Like when you like things done at a certain time or on time or within a time, if it's not done, you just get in and do it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I have to say, for me, like we live off, like we probably live unlike most people live. We're often traveling. Our lives are busy. They're full. There's always something going on.
We're kind of polar opposites, aren't we? As far as
many ways, yeah. But I think the beauty of our relationship is I think there are some similarities, and our values are very much the same. Yeah. And I remember there was one moment where the house was full, and it'd been full for weeks. It was only probably last week. And we'd got some other friends that had come over for dinner, and there were 12 of us around our table. We had to get extra chairs in and that because we didn't have enough dining chairs. And the dining table was full of people, and they were all passing food to each other, all having conversations. And they're all our friends in different contexts. Some are from overseas, some live in Sydney, some are local. And they were all chatting. And, every night we'd go around the table and say, what's your highlight? And I had to say, this moment right now is my highlight, a full table of people you love, that love you, that are conversing with one another, and we're sharing a meal together. Yeah. I'm getting quite emotional because, my life is so rich with things, sending our son on a helicopter ride, parties, all these sorts of stuff. But really the thing that I really value is people. And sitting around that table, I got quite emotional, and I said, it's you. This is what is a highlight of my day. This is what I really value the most is it's not what I have, it's who I get to share it with and the value of the people we get to share it with. And I know you're exactly the same.
Oh,
You've got a big
really?
family and
Yeah.
you're very much like that. Your table's always full.
Yes, and it really is the essence of life, isn't it? It's the people around you. Like you and I are, like I was saying, polar opposites as far as finance goes and all
Yeah.
that. But we really connect in the middle here with just loving people and loving story. And my family, we are very close, and I count my blessings in that, because we may not have the financial advantages, but we have we do have a very full table, and we have a very close family. And I think it's about always counting your blessings, and you've got such beautiful blessings of family and friends as well, and that's where we are so similar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ange? Like, we love just that aspect of life, of people, and
and that
living
really is the most, like, to me, that is where I guess you could say if I'm rich in life, it's in that area.
Yeah, that's
I'm rich with
right.
good friends and
Yeah.
good people. And, you know, you can have all these wonderful, nice things and a nice big house. And I don't negate the fact that, you know, we do live very differently to other people.
Yeah.
But honestly, the value I find is in the people that are around your table,
Yeah.
that you get to share life with. And we have so much similarity in
Yeah,
that
me
because we
too.
share that value.
Yeah, and I totally admire that about you too, because you do have a life of privilege, but you're so real, and if you took all that away, you'd still be Ange to me. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
thanks.
We're still best friends, and nothing of the outside of those peripheral things actually affects a person's friendships. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But the helicopter ride is kind of cool.
That was cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's it from today's podcast. It was a little bit different this week. We got a bit real and open about where we're at the moment. We've kind of come from a very, very busy season and landed ourselves in the studio.
Yes, and I'd like to encourage all our listeners to learn from my experience. If you're feeling run down, take some time out and give yourself a break. And I will be listening to my own advice as well. And hopefully I'll be able to tell you of how good it's going.
Yes. And don't despise the routine. Routines actually really help us. So it's time to get back in our routines. Take a bit of exercise, take a bit of time out, do some gardening, do some riding, whatever it is that you need to do to make your life run smoothly. So that's it for today's podcast. You'll find us on all the major podcast platforms. The podcasts come out every Wednesday. We'd love to hear from you on our socials, the Gold Diggers Podcast. Tell us about your story so we can find the gold in you.
Easy as pie, lemon, apple, or cherry. Loving you is so very sweet, sweet, sweet. How can it be such a piece of cake? And your smile is the icing. Loving you is a party. Honey, you're my sugar.